What I have right here is the Five Dialogues by Plato. In particular, today we're going to talk about Plato's Apology, better known as The Death of Socrates or The Trial of Socrates. This is a very, very interesting book. It's only about 20 pages, this specific part of the book, but it has so much depth and it has so many ideas that I feel like have recurred time and time again throughout my studies. In particular, the reason why I wanted to pick this up was because this is something that Nietzsche cites very, very often. This is something that Jung cites as well. This is something that Camus has talked about, and it's really rearing its head today in various political circles when people talk about freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and it just goes to show that no matter who you are, no matter how well respected you are, no matter what you stand for, people will always criticize you, and even the greatest among us, Socrates, can be basically dragged through the mud. And the basic story of the plot, the plot of the story, the basic idea behind this is that Socrates is on trial for being a quote-unquote atheist and for basically telling the youth of Athens to question everything around them. He was very famous for his style. It's been bastardized when we talk about the Socratic method, but Socrates was famous for asking questions. He would break down people's beliefs by asking them a series of questions, and eventually he would start here and he would get to here, and at the end of it, your belief system, your idea, whatever you were trying to convince Socrates of would be vehemently destroyed. And that's what he was famous for. If you read any of Plato's other dialogues, you will see this masterfully done, and it's truly an inspiring idea, because to get to the truth through a set of questions, but to not only convince yourself but convince others of your opinion through asking them questions, through stimulating thought, is one of the coolest and one of the best ways to change someone's mind. So with that said, these are the things Socrates was on trial for, and his basic defense is that he can't be an atheist because he believes in spirits, and because he believes in spirits, spirits come from gods, and because he believes in all these things, how could he be an atheist? And he brings up the fact that the guy that is putting him on trial respects someone else who criticizes the gods that Athens holds up in highest esteem. And it's very, very interesting that he basically throws into question the entire charge of atheism. Doesn't really focus that much more on that, but then he gets into the idea that the men of Athens were following him. He wasn't compelling them. All he was doing was teaching them to think and inspiring them to do similar things that he was doing. And you can't really put anyone on trial for this. You can't really say anyone's getting subverted, because at the time people were getting paid for this. At the time, very, very rich men were paying these teachers to educate their sons, to teach their sons the humanities, teach their sons the philosophies, teach their sons the science. I mean, you see this with Aristotle. One of Plato's students was literally Alexander the Great's tutor for a big period of his life, and it's very weird that he's being put on trial for this. And basically Socrates' point is that he's not afraid of death. He views death as something that is just going to occur one day or another, and to fear death is to reject change, because death is coming to all of us, and to fear death is to immediately assume that it is wrong, immediately assume that it's a bad thing. But who knows what happens when we die? Who knows? And shouldn't we be inspired by this idea? Shouldn't we be accepting of this idea? Shouldn't we go in with an open mind? And this is encapsulating of Socrates' entire ideology, entire philosophy. It's such an awesome story, and I really love the way that he breaks down arguments. I really love the way that he expresses himself. I really love the ideas that are central to this theme, and it paints a very clear picture that Socrates was misunderstood, that people did not get what he was trying to do. He was trying to reject any sort of idealism. He was trying to reject any sort of thought that didn't have deeper concentration, deeper thought, deeper, is this the right thing? Is the other side saying anything that's of note? Is the other side doing this? Is the other side doing that? Like really evaluating the ideas and not just going with one thing, because that's what we see too much of to this day. We see too many partisan actors. We see too many people that will never see the other side of the story because they were not willing to question things. They are not willing to even open themselves up to the idea that the other side has a good point. And because of that, we are at the stages of development we're at. It seems like we've never been in a darker age than today. Like, we talk about the dark ages, we talk about medieval times, but we don't even mention that we're basically in one. We're basically in a new inquisition. Like, it's never been harder to express your beliefs that don't conform to one side or the other. And it's just, you go on Twitter, you go on whatever media platform you're on, it's just one side says one thing to the same thing and the other side says the other thing, and like the difference in reaction is just, it's so weird to see in real time, and it's so frustrating because there's no such thing as honest conversation today. And the last thing I want to talk about from this book was a story that I've told time and time again on this channel, but it's the reason why Socrates was known as the wisest man alive. The oracle at Delphi was asked, was there a wiser man than Socrates? And the oracle said no. And Socrates himself was very skeptical of this. He's like, I'm not a wise man at all. And then he goes and talks to other people. And, you know, he talks to basically a government official, and the government official tells him, yeah, well, this is this. And Socrates, what he got from this whole discussion was that I'm only wiser than this guy because this guy doesn't know how much of an idiot he is. Meanwhile, I recognize how dumb I am myself. And then he goes to the poets, he goes to the playwrights, and he starts talking to them, and he tries to get some sort of wisdom from them. He tries to find someone that is smarter and more intelligent than him. And the poets, the writers, they cannot express their ideas as well as the observer can explain them. And it's almost as if they are just prophets. It's almost as if they are just capturing something that they don't even understand themselves. And Socrates, he's like, you know what? I'm a little bit wiser than these people because these people can write beautiful things, but they have no idea what it means. They have no idea how to express these things. And because of this, I am that much wiser than them. And in the end, everyone comes to the recognition that Socrates is as wise as he is simply because he recognizes where he doesn't know things. He recognizes the amount of knowledge he has, which is nothing. It is impossible to be 100% sure of anything. And Socrates recognized this fact, so he got past his ego. It's about ego death. It's about understanding that there is so much more than what we can observe, and because we can't observe everything, we can never be certain about anything. And keeping this in mind, not associating any sort of ideology with who you are, not associating any set idea with who you are. Be willing to open yourself up to new ideas. Be willing to question everything that you hold, because when you stop questioning things, that's when you're basically brain dead. When you believe in something, you stop thinking about it. When you stop thinking about it, you might as well be dead. And these are the greatest lessons that we can take from Socrates. I am probably going to pick up, I am picking this up right now, but I'm probably going to read the rest of the stories in this book. I'll let you know if they give me any more insights, but again, this is a very quick read, a very easy read. You can either get this book, I'll link this book in the description, or you can go on Project Gutenberg. I'm sure they have Plato's Apology for free. I'm sure there's other places that have it for free. Even if you need to go to the library, there's a million resources on where to get this, and this is a very short but very inspiring and very philosophical work that is going to teach you a lot about when it comes to freedom of expression, freedom of thought, and what it means to live and die for your beliefs. Because I mean, it doesn't really talk about this in the story because Socrates is still alive, but the death of Socrates symbolizes dying instead of living in a world where you can't express your views, dying instead of living in a world where you are not free to do what you want, where you're not free to express yourself, where you're not free to teach others the ideas that you believe, the ideas that you hold, where you're not free to question the powers that be, where you're not free to spread this inquisitive curiosity to the rest of the world. And it's truly a very, very inspiring death. It's one of the most inspiring deaths. I mean, I put it right there after Jesus Christ, because I think without freedom of expression, without freedom of thought, I don't think you have anything else. But it's, you know, I like to analogize it as the crucifixion in the philosopher's eyes. But again, these are just my own thoughts. These are my own beliefs. Let me know what you think down in the description. I love you guys so much. Peace out. I'll catch you in the next one. Pick this up at some point. It really won't let you down. I know this is something you're going to enjoy because I thoroughly enjoyed it today. Love you guys so much. Peace out. I will catch you in the next one.